All right, thanks, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
Everybody, this is KGB Monday Night Poetry, year 24, season 47, episode 9. And we are going with our now bi-yearly, twice yearly open mic competition, and really psyched about it. So we're going to have 20 or so readers. Each one only gets 3 minutes. And if you are one of those readers, you definitely should go right ahead and decide to give yourself 6, I think. And what am I leaving out, co-host, before we get started here?
It only goes up to 5.
Oh, sorry.
You can't. Sorry, I should have made it 6. I only made it 5. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, so everyone has 3 minutes. I'll hold up a timer. I'll have to turn off my background so you can see the timer, because otherwise, like, it's just.
I have an egg timer that I'm gonna try to turn over.
Oh yeah, use the egg timer.
Use the egg timer. Yeah, and so when you hit 3 minutes, Matt will say 3.
I have a bell.
You'll get the bell when you hit 4 minutes. So at 3, if you hear 3, then you should kind of finish up. If you get to 4, you get the bell because you're being rude. And if you hit 5, we might just send you to the waiting room.
I'm thinking about how, remember last time we were hoping we could get that German guy who came to one of our readings who had the big gong behind him, and we could do the old school like 70s gong show, but
yeah, no, that's
yeah. Then the trouble with that was, really just the time difference, and his neighbors. I mean, if he had lived in the forest, if he lived in the foothills, with the gummy bears, he could bring his.
That's like here and there and everywhere.
Yeah, here and there and everywhere is right. So I like your whole numbers there, Jason. At 3, I will. Let everyone know that the timer is that the sand is on the other side of the glass, and at 4 we'll ring, and at 5 you'll waiting room.
And so I'm closing the poll. I know you've seen the poll, but we'll relaunch the poll because it only stays open for like a minute or so. So we'll launch the poll after the 5th reader, and that should hopefully at that time you can remember everyone. 5 at a time is usually like 5, like the human brain can see 5. So hopefully like that will be a kind of, you won't have a hard time. You won't have to think too far back, but you should keep notes while people are reading. And let me put the list back up, and then Matt, do you want to introduce Bruce or get him started?
Sure. So our first poet tonight is there a list over here? Is this, or am I just saying?
It's in the chat. If you look in the chat, then the numbers are there.
Copy that.
So Bruce Whitacre is the first up.
So Bruce, whenever you want to begin.
All right, thank you, Matt, and everyone, good evening. I can't wait to hear everyone else's work, and I'm delighted to go first and get all the sweating out of the way. The first poem is a sonnet, Christmas Star. Beacon low in twilight, converging giants, ringed and mooned, bright as darker days wane and the sun pivots north again, or rather, the planet wobbles in its peculiar tilt. Some say this is a sign from God, an echo of his legendary spotlight on the irony of his son's lowly birth and exalted purpose. It could be some kind of reminder that hope also tilts peculiarly, or that apocalypse is neither near nor far, depending on your denomination. Signs in the sky, menace, reassurance, or merely clockwork, as unknowable as the hour of our death. The second one is my redo of the famous Serenity Prayer you may know from recovery circles or pop culture. It's called Serenity Prayer 2.0. I wrote this because I felt the Serenity Prayer was letting way too many people, particularly white people, off too easily. God, spare me your serenity of excuses, the wisdom that allows me to look away. Who knows what I could change unless I try? Grant me the courage to change what needs changing, a lever long enough and a place to stand. And that's coming out in this new journal, Pensive, out of Northeastern University in April. And finally, this is a tribute to this project at R.W. Kwan and Seth Greenwald Kink, a new book. It sort of inspired me to get some kink on, but I think I only rose to the level of hygiene. So this is called The Fold-Out Couch. His force thumps the entire divan against the renter white wall, adding to the small dents. These are the good years. Galaxies revolve like the club door, powered by magnetism and mystery. Tossing cushions is foreplay, though sometimes here the fizz goes flat. A bicep in the red lava light, an ass in the veil of blue smoke, its globes green glitter strewn and sweating, heaving planets and stars call to the white light between the eyes, the fire in the throat as you take all he's got. The collapse, the caress, the clip of the spring through the mattress, another notch in the floor, counting down the security deposit. Thank you, everyone.
I need to unmute myself. Thank you, Bruce. So our second poet up to the mic tonight is Wali Abdul-Wahid. Wali, whenever you're ready, enable your video if you could, and Jason will switch over to you. I will turn the floating hourglass over in time.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you all for having me tonight. Really excited to read what I have. So I have two poems. The first one is titled Just for Today. Life is not indefinite, so I live just for today. Searching for clarity with 24 hours to hit my capacity. Judged not in my entirety, rather status quos built by society. An immovable barricade, so I live just for today. Tell me you'll see me tomorrow, not sure we'll see another day. Hues of orange and red set in the west, I still live just for today. That's the first one. And the second one is dedicated to one of my favorite New York City street artists. His name is, he goes by Sir Shadow. And this poem is titled Orchard Street, Sir Shadow's Reprise. What's your favorite instrument? Taxis scream, garbage seeps as the soulless creep down Orchard Street. Days of a game played with caps, wax, and chalk on asphalt, now replaced with drunken buffoonery and fist pumps that bleed on the sidewalk. The omnipresent genius fills the city night. Shadow turns bright under this bodega spotlight. Amidst the painstaking regression lies a brilliant soul undiscovered. Magical compositions of the city sun ra, accentuated through melodic repetition, la-di-di, la-di-da. Single strokes make their way around like spokes, silver and black, simplicity unmatched. Instrumental improvisation, Sir Shadow's intact. That was the last one. Thank you, everyone.
You got room for another?
I'm good.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you, Wali. Let us go back to our list. Come on, chat list.
Jim Pratzon.
Jim Pratzon. All right, Jim, whenever you are ready.
Great. Thank you. I'm Jim Pratzon, and I have 3 projects on the burners, and I'd like to share a taste of each, working backwards. From the Rebel Army, this is called Unseeing the Arches of the Brooklyn Bridge. Welcome to the Mosque of Manhattan, where the calligraphy of the grid spells the name of what's holy, provided you know how to read. Where the men and women travel together, but live and worship and dream at a considerable required distance. And those who hold hands and laugh as if they've bridged that gap are lying. Where ritual washing uses enough water to affect the tide in the harbor, but never successfully cleans the souls or the wounds or the stains of birth. where money speaks so loudly the imam cannot be heard, where the medallion owner rolls out his mat on the median, acknowledges an angel on either side, and prays for escape. He thinks, here on my knees, paradise eludes me. From Raw Mornings, this piece is called Delicacy. 3 lifetimes later, I would still be able to pick out your taste from a whole apothecary of samples cunningly arranged to confuse me out of pure envy. You were thorough. I remain convinced. I would find you, given the chance. And from Coming to Grips, this is called Balance. Halfway between God's fingers and leopard, between undertaker and midwife, between palace and pit, between mystery and certainty, between bitter tears and baptism, between sundog and eclipse, between almost there and too far, between and I discovered balance. And sure enough, you were already there with your weight in gold divided and a finger on each pan of the scale, and time held still long enough for me to embrace the fact that we are halfway to love, with miles to go, and balance be damned. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
All right. All right. Some love for Jim. Our 4th reader of tonight is going to be Jerry Wagner. So Jerry, whenever you're ready.
I'm unmuted. All right. When nothing wild remains. The board directs you to describe, circle by circle, how rocks and fossils spill from your notebook in rhythms rarely heard since the death of probity. You reply that amethyst is just silica and cannot heal. Hence, you know there is nothing that needs curing and can choose to self-medicate. You tell them with patience how you rearrange needles of black tourmaline relative to the 3-inch Buddha on your bookshelf, while you puzzle over why the crying child on the train proclaimed you must write your notes in the margins of someone else's book. Vexed, you stress the significance of art as being at heart a reactionary endeavor executed by unreliable narrators, and then you ask the body to consider. What will happen to our places of renewal after the rich buy all the mountains and nothing wild remains? It's time for one more?
Yes.
Okay.
You have 1 minute and 40 seconds left.
Okay. Snowslip Bar and Cafe. Behind double barbed wire fences, the bulk of the tribal bison herd grazes on silence. The rest gaze west toward the Rockies. That late afternoon at Snowslip, he leaned left arm behind back against the far end of a short bar, and in Siksika, glass raised, greeted me friend. I raised horses, thoroughbreds, he said. I have a master's degree, he said. I teach phys ed and Browning, he said. I've been assimilated, he said. I'm Catholic, Star School, but I'm not. I'm Pikuni. Did you ever take a sweat? It's good to take a sweat. My boy is 8. He cries and I hug him. The medicine man said it was the video games. We all took a sweat. My boy is stronger now. Do you still sometimes make the crow cry? I asked him. We win so much they don't invite us to our games no more, he said. But the Flathead over in Kalispell have all the banners now. I tell the boys, we are the runners, not the Flathead. Have pride. It's summer. My uncle and me, we raise horses in the summer. I don't drink. I drank yesterday. I drink today, he said. My wife called me, he said. Come home, she said. I miss you. The boys miss you. The horses need me too. I came home, he said. The door was locked. You know, he said, when we go to the massacre site to pray, the farmer charges us to cross his land.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
All right. Our fifth poet of the night is Melinda Wilson. Melinda, whenever you are ready, always happy to hear you.
Hi, I'm going to read one poem. It's called I Grew Up on Catholic Boys and. I grew up on Catholic boys and cold salted cucumber slices for lunch, but mostly those searching hands under the cafeteria table, even when I wore wool tights in winter. But what am I saying? I never wore tights. Knee socks were the way of the slut, which is all I ever thought about being when I grew up. Being wanted, being a body that compels desire or envy. So even then I knew love is dead. When Courtney sings, I am your girl. I might be ugly on the inside, but here in the present, when I'm riding the shuttle bus to the Bronx, I am your girl. I'm listening to Courtney croon, riding the shuttle bus on my way to the Bronx, and I am your girl. Here in the city, in the now, we are all afraid of the virus that moves from pale face to shattered lung. As the man next to me wipes his nose and coughs into an already blown out tissue, looks hungrily at my bare legs. The one train will stop at City College and pick up at Dykeman, where I will be waiting, horny and irate. Ever the Catholic schoolgirl, aware of the male gaze on the train, on the platform or the street. I am the Catholic schoolgirl, still on her bruised knees. The Good Shepherd Church reminds me of my youth when I amble past drunk at night on my way from the Liffey Bar to the public house along Broadway, feeling dizzy, feeling dirty. I remember the suggestive fingertip lingering on the corner of my mouth as the priest tucked the body of the Savior inside. I remember the terror of misunderstanding my womb, the blinding rage at the realization that Eve had been framed in the garden. The Virgin Mary's example preserved in the beauty of stained glass, the shards of which would still slit these slutty wrists. Thank you.
Thank you, Melinda. Fantastic stuff. Thank you to all five of the first readers. We will now, kind of put our head out of the water for a moment, take a breath, and we will do some rating.
So go in there and take the poll. We have 32 people. So we should get to 31 participants. I don't count as the host. I am not allowed to take the poll.
Thank you to everyone for the first round, though. That was fantastic. It's great to, again, there have been so many conversations about the kind of media message aspect of the weirdness of these readings, and it is an opportunity sometimes to just listen and then also to watch and that sort of. So I wonder if anyone else has a strategy for listening to this. Sometimes I do think it's easier to look away. Other times you like to watch. I don't know. It's interesting. Anybody? Jaeger, Jason?
I'm enjoying watching.
I am so focused on the technology. Jada, what about you? What's your strategy?
Well, my strategy right now is to listen, I guess to listen and just, be as subjective as possible.
Be as subjective as possible. There you go.
That should be poetry's catchphrase.
Yeah, really.
Absolutely right.
Okay, so we're at 80% participation. I'll give you another 20 seconds.
20 seconds, that's all I need.
It seems unfair for the poll.
Sorry, objective. I meant
No,
objective.
the
Now I feel
subjective was
bad.
perfect. That was fantastic.
Why did I use that word so wrong?
Because it's poetry. We're humanists. We're not scientists. We're less concerned with objectivity. All right, I am closing the poll.
Good point. We are swayed by feelings and emotions.
Okay, and so I need to record the results. Oh, sorry. So continue talking among yourselves while I record the results.
I don't know. We can continue talking them on. I don't really know what to say, but I liked our first 5 readers quite a lot. Again, I like the strangeness of this event. I feel like this is something we should do more often. Maybe at some point in the summer when we take all that time off, you know?
Absolutely. There was I'll be right back. But maybe if I yell, you can hear me.
Yell.
I'm just yelling. Years and years ago, I read at Texas Tech, and they had a really interesting reading strategy where they had, one undergraduate poet who read for about 5 minutes, and then they had, someone from their graduate program who read for about 15 minutes, and and then they had, a poet that they brought in. And it was really nice because these younger poets got an opportunity to be like, damn, I'm better than the dude they flew in. But maybe maybe not or so. But either way, it's an opportunity to get and kind of have somebody else's audience. And that's really the whole that's really the whole prize if you win this. So Jason, I'm just up here, kind of hitting the, hitting the ride symbol.
We're good. So we're ready to go on to the next 5 readers. If you misscored someone, let me know. But if you didn't score someone, it's fine. Like if you missed the first readers and you didn't rate them, that's totally fine. Because I divide the scores by the number of scorers. So if 12 people score the second reader, but 10 people score the first reader, that the first number is divided by 10 and the second number is divided by 12. So you're still on a scale of 1 to 4, like the average is still working out. So if you had a problem with the poll and you missed someone, you didn't hurt them. But do keep in mind how it works for the next round so that you can give everyone the scores that you want.
We trust you.
Okay.
The fix.
Okay. So all right. So who's up next?
Our 6th is Eva Molina.
Eva is not here.
Ah.
And I cannot take Eva out of the poll. So just don't rate, like give no scores to Eva when we get to the next poll. And so we want to move on to Bonny.
Whenever you're ready.
You're not unmuted. We can't hear you.
Hi. Sorry for the all caps on my name. It looks really narcissistic. I did it fast. And I didn't want to have to do shift and all that shit. So anyway, sorry. Okay. The first one is called Cuidad Encantada. Is this the way it happens? Ensnared in a dimming desert, the body seduced within the warp and weft of sleep. I'll be a ghazal, written in the end of time. Wrap the drum in feathers when the bones are brought to rubble and the music flies to the other side. A darkening room, the brilliant window behind, burning you to ash against my eyes, your shadowed voice calling in the light, illuminating everything behind the surface of your skin. Mouth again, the sea rises and retreats, leaving salt behind. Love waxes, wanes, illuminates, and disappears in its dark. Venom, thirst, condemnation, blame, seed the real estate of memory and hope. Hold up in a room, the kingdom fortified, the lovers satisfied, besieged by marauders, turned out, exiled, in flight from surrender, flown, landed, hid among enchanted stones where they devoured, washed away with warm sand, gone with Spanish sun and seagulls, soft remembered what the skin received, what the eyes replaced, the dying rose tossed away, rootless, overgrown with words, choked on love's undying hunger. And this one's called Slaughter. She worked in a fur factory, skinning mink and lynx, fox and sable, raccoon and bear. The bear was special order, all cash. Her lover had 2 laughs, one when he was with her, one with his friends. Which one was true? He found her secret in a folder in her bag, a love poem meant for someone else. I fucked him, she said, but he was disappointing. You're probably too much for him, he said, pained. Maybe, she said, hoping it was true. Dusk. Me on a bench, Lulu on the grass, sit and watch the fireflies. When they shut the lights, we take the path toward home, knowing when it's time to leave the dance. Lord of the Dance. A dhoti wound around his hips, unraveling as it whirls. When the music ends, he lifts it to his waist and starts again. That's it.
Bonnie, thank you, Bonnie. That was wonderful. Our next reader is Karen Hildebrand. Karen, so whenever you are ready.
Hi, everybody. I have 2 poems to read. This one's called The Great Milky Way. I have many reports on the miseries of the milkman, daughter of dairy folk that I am. But the cows are lovely. Holstein, Guernsey, Belarus red. Uncle Vern used to hook them up to machines that pulsed the barn like a disco. Milk, my happy place. Butter churned from the froth takes well to chocolate and mama's boys. It's the sweet bond of suckle we wish we could return to. In a bowl, the Cheerios always run out first. Snow White, a shapely vixen, bottled with a pleated cap, wholesome as Nancy Drew. Farming is hard, said Vern before he died. Damn you, Vern, said his wife after. When he was sad, he ate Wonder Bread soaked in milk from a glass with a spoon. And this one is called The Year of No Men. It was the year we discovered compostable flatware. We carried eco-friendly utensils in our pockets. We were particularly fond of sporks. They came in handy during meetings when we needed to stab our own hands from saying yes, or to keep from saying yes. That was the year we became no men. Estrogen reigned, so much so the market became saturated. We exceeded capacities of our bras and shoelaces. The frequency of hysterectomies grew sharply in an attempt to manipulate demand. We looked forward to menopause to get some relief. We no longer wore cotton or ate strawberries. We braided our hair with obsolete shopping lists. One night, Whole Foods ran out of kale. A quiet panic ensued, and we understood this was the beginning of the collapse. We were greatly relieved the next day when it was all back. Thank you.
Bonnie, if John Ashbery were here, he would have stolen the line, "One night Whole Foods ran out of kale" from you, and you would have seen it in the New Yorker.
Karen, that's not Bonnie.
Karen,
that's-
I'm sorry.
It's Karen.
Bonnie, he'd have stolen some things from you, like the sea
If
retreating.
Ashbury were
All
Bonnie,
behind.
he would have stolen Karen's line.
He would have stolen from Carrie, he would have stolen from Bonnie, and he would have been like, "Whoops, I thought of it. I'm 90.
What was the line from Bonnie that you had said?
Oh, the one about
Karen.
the one about,
Karen.
No. He had one from Bonnie too.
wrap the drum
Ashbury's
in
stealing that.
feathers, the sea retreats and leaves the salt behind, something along those lines. Yeah. I mean, that's the gist of it. And he would have definitely stolen, one night Whole Foods ran out of kale, quiet panic ensued. That was, Cheerios, stick in my mind. And from that wonderful reading. And our next poet is Kristin Bock.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to read one poem. It's called Uncanny Valleys. When you pass a mannequin in a store window and she looks exactly like your mother when she was young, without hands. When you see sandbags about your size. When at night the closet door left open like a coffin. When you run up to the edge of a cliff, lie on your belly and look down at the tops of trees for the first time. When you see a mannequin that looks just like your father but has no sex parts. When his face through warbled glass. When your whole family goes hunting for garnets and the rock face looks like blood spatter. When you have sex for the first time, look in a mirror and are surprised you are still a girl. When something freshly torn out twitches. When dragged by your ankles down a rock face by your father. When dragged by your ankles anywhere. When no one comforts you crying in the woods and at the same time you are looking down at yourself crying in the woods. When years later you are chased through the woods by a boy you love or think you love and you cry for an angel with the face of your mother. When you finally grow up and just finish fucking someone you think you love and shit pours from their mouth. When you find yourself on stage next to a stripper barking at you on all fours like a dog. When everyone is laughing. When you bare your teeth like a dog. When the tops of trees are beautiful for a few seconds and then they are not beautiful ever again. When the cigarette hanging from your father's bottom lip looks like a skinny white girl. When you are a skinny white girl and catch your reflection in dirty toilet water. When dragged down a rock face, not just a few inches, but the length of many 12-year-old girls strung together. When you dream you're crucified on a mountain and look down on the roof of your home. When a heavy branch crashes through the tangle of branches and hits the ground with a thud, and for a split second, you think it's your mother. When dust casts a green light on your veined hands and you wonder if you finally turned. When years later, peeling eggs in the kitchen, a bleeding goat startles the afternoon you thought you were happy inside. When you no longer can tell if you were ripped from the trees or the trees were ripped from you. When a maddening fluid takes you by the ankles. When your hip bones are peeled eggs. When a bleeding goat. When the animals of the forest swivel their eyes and ears away from the direction of the cliff. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was wonderful. Are we and so we are now to Audrey Gidman. The length of many young girls strung together, sticking in my mind, like a Jacob's ladder hanging off a cliff. Our next I'm sorry, I'm just riffing. the image matter has been wonderful. And all these poets. Audrey Gidman is our next poet of this round.
Hello. Oh my gosh, Kristin, my hands are cold. I have 2 poems for you tonight. The first one is called Trauma Theory. Forgive me, I have been this body. Forgive me, I have seen so much. This body knows. I think I am a tree made of hands. I think I can't get empty enough to know what I'm dealing with. This body is a drought of massed years. Let me begin again. Here is a girl kneeling. Here is a girl on her knees. A girl on her knees in the dark. She can't remember. A shadow that disappears. She can't remember why the dark scares her. She tries for years. Owls outside the window, birch and sycamore scratching glass, her skin a tired storm. Forgive me, I have seen this story 1,000 times. Forgive me, how do I write this poem differently next time? The owls have gone home, but home is what? A body, a prayer for a clean break, a body, a tired storm. Forgive me, there is no clean break. War has a smell, forgive me. There are owls in this poem somewhere. A girl on her knees afraid of windows. The window is shut. The window is a window made of hands. A body kneeling. She knows the storm by the inside of its name. She forgets herself. No, forgive me. I forget what I came here to say. And then the second poem is called Duck Fat. A duck makes a good gift. A dead duck, neck full of bones, tender, she says. C'est très bien, the best part. Her tongue slips, even now after so long. I ask her if she misses France. She hands me a duck and says nothing. Later in the kitchen, I pull the wings apart at the joint, peeling and smearing fat and puckered skin, loosening until they unhinge. I slip my finger somewhere between the sternum and the inside of the ribs, push through the dark hollow of carcass and twist the spine until it pops at the vertebra, body in two. I pile the pieces in a pot to simmer, imagining my mother's hands as I work, slender and olive-skinned. I know she worries I do not have enough, so she taught herself to kill. I coil the neck around the breast, trying to make it fit. It bends in a way mine could. My mother says we do what we have to do. The word mother gets stuck in her throat like a bone. Thank you.
Thank you, Audrey.
And we have a change in order. Eva was originally scheduled for the beginning of that set, but now she's going to go at the end of that set, and then we will get to the poll.
Wonderful. All right, Eva, whenever you are ready.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I have two poems. The first one is called The Bathrooms Where There Should Be None. The bathrooms where there should be none teem with trash. Wrappers, diapers, used tampons, probably condoms, tissues, anything plastic. Preceding the chain-assisted climb to top Angel's Landing, shitting is permitted in this foul-smelling facility that supposedly preserves natural architecture. Angel's Trail is mostly smooth, paved. How assuming, carving a mountain and slathering it in concrete. 10 people have died here since 2004. Girls with long acrylic nails pull themselves up as we climb down. My sister whispers, "Her nails." What's the word for how this whole ordeal feels? Intruder, imposter, invader, but let's forgo strict definitions. Beholding the canyon carved by the Virgin River, I too feel like I conquered something. Coquettish chipmunks crawl on my thighs. I'm fresh out, I tell them. praying they don't find the bathroom's filth. And my second poem is called Nose Job. I wanted Lana Del Rey's, a finely shaped line, a slight point at the end, petite nostrils sculpted permanently quasi-flared. I wanted to look like a doll, dreamy but commanding. What I mean is, yes, I self-servingly let you die. You are not slender nor graceful, your nostrils incongruent, your shape something mashed, an underwhelm in the middle of my face, no matter how I prodded, noodled, or stretched. Nobody told me to do it. Still nobody called me doll, neither. Sometimes I gaze into your remnants in the mirror and wonder if I should mourn you, the genetic hand-me-down erased. But I always stall, for after all, dolls are not known to grieve. Thank you.
What an outstanding last line. Oh, everyone in this set, you know, give yourself a little pat on the back and make sure to give yourselves a 5 in the poll. So we're going to take a minute and we are going to rate these readers, and then we will be right back.
We should probably mention again that the order. Oh no, the order's corrected now. It looks like. Is that right?
Yeah, I am a tech god. I was not sure I'd be able to do that, but I actually was able to edit the poll on the fly so that we could put Eva at the end of that poll. So you actually are looking at them in order.
You are a tech god, Jason. You every challenge that we throw at you, you reestablish yourself, you know, freshly as a tech god.
With only a modicum of panic.
Well, I mean, that's
my signature.
That's the shimmer in your godly tech god aura.
It's my signature affect. Panic.
The shimmer of panic. All right. So we'll take like a minute, and then why don't we take like a 10-minute break after this next set of 5? How does that sound, everyone?
Yeah.
That sounds good. We have 88%, so we're going to end the poll. All right, and oh dear, Matt, take it away.
All right, so our next reader this evening is going to be Don Krieger.
The long con, be fruitful, for my nameless sisters. She climbed down the curb and wandered into traffic. I parked crosswise to block the road. She toddled to the other side, up the sidewalk, turned in with me behind like a herding dog. The screen door was locked, the house filled for Shabbos dinner, kids and arguing men in black. A pregnant woman came to the door, let her in with a quiet thank you, locked the door behind her. I saw them again yesterday, 2 in a stroller, 4 more walking behind. They all had baby dolls cradled in their arms. 2. She had my love and her twin sons, their lives filled with learning and prayer, each with a working wife and 12 sons of his own. I recited the prayers with them, 1,000 men close around me, women in a mezzanine at the back, the great shul at 770, the world's home for their brand. When we said the Aleinu, they all spit on the floor and on each other in the crush. Disgust for the golden calf, to cleanse that ancient taint, because their Rebbe had spit 40 years before. These days with the bug, how many will bear death home to those open wombs? After, we sat all together at dinner. I asked if the women spit too. I asked out of disgust and for the children. No one answered, and I never saw her again. 3. She was alone, not so old as me, a ring and an orthodox wig. She looked longing into my face as we passed on the summer sidewalk. I felt that hollow, Lear before, but not so harsh, not so eloquent. Too many Sabbaths, too many births.
And I think we're actually missing Irene Savine. Is Irene here?
Don, I believe you have room for another one.
Well, I have one that I wrote for this night, but I wanted to read the International Women's Day poem.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, what would
Well,
happen otherwise? You know.
That's what I read. I can read you the one I wrote.
Yeah, you still got about a minute.
Well, let's see if it fits.
Yeah,
Not a part of Mensa. That rare happening, all-star authors together from the New Yorker, Paris Review, you name it, winners of the great awards you've always heard of. The love and excitement for each other, the cultured admiration for each exquisite phrase, left no doubt the extraordinary to which we were privileged. Famous names, travel and honoraria, peerage we all want. We long for return, the in-person reading, pub and bookshop, hugs and wine, gasps and knowing nods. Yet so many told us what this is about, or ended with a fluttering leaf or a sigh, or held us with narrative, yet came off the rails to an opaque ending. The greatest performed with perfect craft, as if pure water were forced through his pen, leaving nothing palpable on the page. Craft in music, the quick turn, the lightning bolt, and human contact. But for the bug, we would never have met. But for Zoom, may never again. I must have something to say and the need to say it. Yet what I write is wasted if the listener need be inside my head or need do his best thinking to grasp it and be a genius at that. What meeting room is there for art when all the world is shut out?
Thank you, Dawn. Nice reference to, here lies one whose name was written water, as if pure water was pushed through his pen. Nice stuff. Nice stuff. All right, so our next reader tonight is Irene Savine. Forgive me if I pronounce that incorrectly.
I think we're missing Irene. I think Sabrina's actually up next. Sorry, that's my fault.
Our next reader is not your fault. You're, the tech god. You can't, you can't fix everything unless you're the capital G. So our next reader is Sabrina Simone. Whenever you're ready, Sabrina.
Hi guys. So I'm just gonna read 2 short little poems. December 21st, 2020. Goodbye, my sweet complacency. All that remains is to run the faucet at midnight until the brown water runs clear. Tonight is 1 in 800, the great conjunction, and what a miracle it is to be. This morning, I was meant to rise to superpowers, but simply existing will do just fine. And my second one is called 23. 23 feels like the sun. 23 feels like healing. Yesterday, I found a God I abandoned in song. I praised his name all night. I tried to make sense of his love, but it isn't enough to replace what abandoned me many years ago. 23 feels like the sun. 23 feels like healing. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabrina. Our next reader, you got plenty of time, Sabrina. If you wanted to call one up, you know, we've got time for more.
I'm all out. Thank you, though.
All right. Our next reader is Komo Ananda.
Hello, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, coming in loud and clear.
All right, loud and clear. I have about 3, maybe 4, depending on time. No Easter. Soft, singular cotton tips mar, fleeting ears across a parking lot, whites of their eyes upon arrival. That sound is the sound. The wind the chickadee makes is snow unexpected, expected to bear down, monster-like, consuming routine. Nothing but empty twigs, a chokehold on the opening cocoon, and a minute moth in minutia of wings, signaling no sound at all. The next one. These lines beg for more. It is a negotiation resting inside a process. It is a categorical imperative, an ending's ending. It is an arm stretched out from one monkey bar to the next, swinging from steel to steel, star to star, like dark matter buttressing the universe in motion. Electrical synapses shock byways and causeways. God is autopoetic, a multi-celled particle swinging from system to system, sun to sun, creating its own creation, its own jungle gym of silence. Spring last year. One must have a mind of abandonment to proceed, to strike out on the path, to break up the day into slender slices, to push up against the placeholder of the mundane. A spoonful will tarnish ambition, will stain the last bit of faith like a well-worn rug. When the 2 geese came to watch us, it was 15:15 the 14th hour. It was pomegranate juice in mason jars. They are going to lay their eggs there, she said. The larger one paddles a circle the long way around the cement island block and stands like a flamingo, neck craned upward in a question mark, glaring over the plastic planter into the house, a solitary sentinel. All afternoon, I have been a watchman. The smaller one stands up in sudden certainty, deadlocked, ready for eye-to-eye combat. And then I think I have about 1 more minute. The drawing man. Across the table sits a solitary man, reposed at his pencil and block sheet, his left hand maimed, shriveled like a deflated balloon, thick-skinned and rough. His smooth, healthy right nudges a wooden pipe in the crook made by his lifeless thumb and index finger. He nurses a flame to the tobacco plus mix like his right hand aids his left. Wide-eyed and inviting, left hand like a channel lock, pipe in place, he picks up the silver-tipped pencil and pressing down firm on the sheet, he draws something. His knowledge doesn't help. The drawing man smiles knowingly and whispers, doubter. Thank you.
Thank you, Komo. All right. So our next reader tonight is, drum roll please, Karen Newberg.
We're replacing Karen Newberg. Actually, is Karen Newberg here? I don't think she's here. So we're replacing Karen Newberg with Bernadette Bird Bowen.
Thank you. I really appreciate the last minute substitute. So I'm going to share, I have links to both the poems I'm going to read, just because I feel like my poetry is more so meant to be read than it is to be spoken. It's just easier that way. The first one I'm going to read is called We Are All Surfaces in the Environment. My love hangs around like mold. I infiltrate your porous wood, sink into your membranes. Don't mind me, just evading lapses to rid your infrastructure of me, fortifying myself stronger than ever inside you. I am the 20% that know how to survive your vinegar. Undetected, I cunningly curb your interest till you're cupping at the seams. Curve from me. Show me how your heat that grows me cannot contain itself there inside your surfaces. Allow me to snake through your veins like water, weaving through your textures, tainting your wood boards, inking them with life. Isn't it also exhilarating how even my most toxic release of spores beats the drone of your tidy polished home? The second one is called To Be Invisible Glass. Pretend I am a screen. Look at me. Scroll through my feeds and analyze my data. Lay around, holding me in your hands. So many times you lose all desire to see me. And then scroll me some more. For sanity and seriousness, browse my skin and bookmark prime pages of my sensorium, leaving marginal distinctions between parts of me read and to read. I know I probably have more time, but those are my two pieces. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Bernadette. Pretend I'm a screen, look at me. How to survive your vinegar, sticking in the mind. All right, so we are now going to do our next round of polling. And then once we log these in, we're gonna take like a 5-minute break and refresh our our drinks and hit the little fellas, little ladies, little whomever's room, and then we'll get back together.
We're at 72%. Come on. We can get up to 88 like last time. I'm gonna leave the poll open just a little bit longer. We're hitting the 2-minute mark. All right, I'm gonna close the poll. Unless someone screams, no, don't close the poll. Last chance to scream, no, don't close the poll. All right, closing the poll. Okay, so I'm going to join in taking the break, and I'll be right.
Thank you, Jason. So, everyone is free to unmute themselves and chit chat for a little bit.
I'm getting some more rind, but I'll be back and I'll take part in that.
The poetry's been wonderful this evening.
Yeah, Matt, I think we would be remiss if we didn't mention that Lori Schwartz from KGB Bar has actually reignited the KGB Bar Lit Mag, and she just put out an issue. I'll put a link in the thing that has poems from curators of series at KGB. So,
Really? I didn't know that was out yet.
Oh no, it's out and you're in it. Yeah, that's not a joke, or not a pun. Sorry.
Do you have it up on your computer and you could just flash it through?
Yeah, I'll put the link right here. Oh shit, sorry. It's not there.
Yes, and everybody's poetry was wonderful.
Yes.
And Matt, I liked your poem was about a toilet or a urinal or something.
It was
right?
shaped like a urinal. Yeah. Did
Yes,
the formatting
yes.
come through, or did it?
I think so.
It looks like a urinal, yeah.
Okay.
I actually enjoyed that poem so much I ordered your book.
That poem made you order my book?
Yes.
My book is nothing like that poem, but thank you.
Oh no, don't tell me that.
I want to I want to know, my no, there is a love of things in that runs through. But yeah, I'm glad to know that the poem looked like a urinal. It took
Everybody's poetry was
a lot of
really
time
great.
to make that fucking thing look like a urinal, and it was a concrete poem, a shaped poem, and it's like a pretty easy shape, and it was still hard. So these writers like Mae Swenson and George Herbert that
I love Mae Swenson. Love Mae Swenson. Oh God, I love Mae Swenson.
iconographs. I mean, that thing, you put that on a scale and it'll sync with a lot of great volumes of poetry on the other side of it. I mean, it is
Matt, so is this what you had? So if anybody wonders why he was writing about this specifically too, is that the urinals at KGB are sort of like, they're like over 100 years old or something at this point, and they go all the way to the floor. But
almost. It's supposed to be the U right over the
right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't gonna
There's
happen.
always something. There's always something.
Did they have the last line? Did they cut the last line off? The last line is supposed to be easy, and it's right there.
I still like the poem. It was a great poem.
Hey, Matthew.
Did she edit? Ah, man. All right, I'll send her an email about that. Maybe she can try again. It almost went through, but
There's always something. There's always something.
yeah.
But these are all of them.
Oh, these are all, and then there's
Wonderful poetry, and Jada's poem is really, really great. I mean, it's really, really nice. I read everybody's poems, believe it or not, but it came up on Gmail or something.
And I think Jada gets a special congratulations, because Jada, isn't that your first publication outside of schools?
It is my first publication out of school, so I'm very excited.
I
So
enjoyed it
happy.
very much.
Thank you.
Oh, and John, and Melinda, your Christmas card came back. You never got it.
I texted you. Yeah, I moved to a different apartment in the building, so
Oh, okay. Oh no.
a fairly different address. But if you're willing to,
Well, I'll save it. You'll get it next year. I'll save myself. Okay.
tape it to the 2021.
Are you still on the first floor, or are you somewhere else?
It is the complete opposite. It's a 5th floor walk up, but there's actual sunlight. That means
Oh, I liked your place. But anyway, if nobody's there, I'll definitely go to that apartment. But
yeah, it's still empty actually.
Hmm.
But yeah, definitely do send to the new one. That was thanks for reading all those poems, Don. I thought it was cool to see all those in one place. Yeah, there's a poem by David Lehman called "A Good Week for a Birthday." Urinals by Matthew Yeager. The Last Mirror by Jason Schneiderman. I had a couple of poems. Jada's got Watching the Color Purple During Quarantine, and that's the Monday Night Crowd. I guess speaking of KGB, Jason, why don't we talk about the fundraising aspect?
Oh, yes, I'm.
Quick, before we do that, I just had a huge idea that I think is great. I think that we could strong arm Lori into having the winner of this contest get to be published in the KGB Lit Mag that she has relaunched.
That doesn't seem like a, yeah. And plus, since you announced it here at the event, she, you know, I don't know if she really has. Yeah, I think it'll probably happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and maybe we won't even confine it to one. So I think this is a great idea, and we'll hand it over to Jason.
All right. So as you have noticed, you're not in the bar, which means you're not buying drinks, which means you're not tipping the bartender. And as you can see, the little pop-up says this campaign needs your support, and it really does. KGB Bar is kind of in limbo, and it's wonderful that KGB has given us this virtual space as a placeholder until we can go back to the physical space, but the physical space won't be there unless we support it. And so it's really important that we go to the fundraising website, fundly.com, and you can find the literary landmark KGB Bar NYC Aid. And it's just like WNYC, but it's like, you know, public radio or public television, but instead of getting a tote bag or a mug or an umbrella, you get alcohol. And so if you give $15, you will have 2 drinks waiting for you when KGB is back. And there's a $4 tip right for a Seiji right now. For $25, you'll have 3 drinks waiting for you. You don't have to use these levels. You know, if you only have $5, if you want to give $26, you're welcome to do that. But this way you kind of have something that you can anticipate or look forward to. And we're hoping that someone will give it the $50,000 level and have a $45,000 bar tab. It's a really good investment. $45,000?
If you live anywhere near 2nd Avenue in East Coast, then you actually will probably get a return on that investment over time.
You absolutely would. I think it is possible that someone could consume $30,000 worth of alcohol over a 10-year period in New York and not be considered even a functioning alcoholic. You know, just a person.
I'm sure if you're out with a few people too, having dinner and stuff, you're like, I know a place we can go where they'll let me drink for free all night.
Yeah.
And then you go.
Or I've already paid it forward.
Yeah, exactly.
I think my favorite part is that the $25,000 donation is literary legend, but the $50,000 one is you're just a patron.
Seriously.
We have our priorities straight. That's what it comes down to. And Jada has put the link tree in the chat, and that'll give you access to the Fundly and the YouTube channel. So this will be up on YouTube next week. And if you want to watch previous episodes of Monday Night at KGB, since we've gone to Zoom, we've had, I think there's only one person who asked not to be recorded and is not up on YouTube, but all of the other events are right there. And I will say, I was sort of opposed to recording them. I was sort of like, I don't ever like, because a lot of times, like for me, like what's so exciting about the reading is being there with the other people. And even when you're on Zoom, like it's being with them. But Richard McCann, who we had in the fall, it was one of his last readings. He died very shortly after. And it's become really special to me that I can watch that video. So it really changed my relationship to having the readings up on YouTube. So if you want to go check us out, I will also add the link to our YouTube channel. And each week on Tuesday, the previous Monday night's reading becomes available. So last week's reading will be available tomorrow at 7, and this reading will become available next week at 7.
I would also like to say that that I got an email to the KGB Poetry Gmail account, which is mostly an outgoing mailbox. And we send our email blast from that. We send 2 poems a week by readers. If you would like to be on that email list and get 2 excellent poems, and maybe one of them is a hook that catches the fish of you to come and visit us again, type your email address in the in the chat list, But I got an email from somebody who had binge watched or listened to, she said, the KGB, kind of Zoom reading so far. And so, as we've said, hello.
That's safe.
Heather, is that you? Hello.
I think you're good to keep going.
I'm good to keep going. Okay. But we've said to, certain readers, a lot of your audience, for this reading hasn't even been born yet. I mean, they're going on the arc of YouTube. They're going to float into the future, to use the analogy I use over and over again. But, this is a good thing. You guys are all putting wonderful poetry on wax, as somebody like John would say, with a bunch of beautiful gear behind him.
I was gonna say also, yeah, like that's what, and you guys are all doing it tonight too. Like, the example Jason gave of someone giving practically their last reading doing this, if not, and then this one too is going to be on the list with all of them. So this is a great thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. All right.
Okay, so I'm putting in the link for the channel. Okay. Oh no, I'm so sorry. Heather injured herself. That's what the cry was. She had a painful injury.
Oh.
Well, welcome back, and we're glad you weren't Zoom bombing us. And
I'd love to imagine where she's watching the reading from.
Yeah, we're sorry. We hope you feel better.
Yeah.
I'm sorry too. I didn't know what was happening there.
If so, that was the nicest Zoom bomb I've ever heard. I've heard worse on Zoom bombs, so hopefully she's feeling better.
So, Matt, do you want to take us into the next grouping?
Sure, and thank you, Jason, for that wonderful pitch. So our 16th reader of the night is Margaret Galey. Margaret, the floor is yours.
Thanks. So I have 4 short poems. The first one was actually written at the KGB about a year and a half ago. Words and Fingers. I imagined it going down at the KGB bar while listening to him read in that poet's way, hypnotic like drunken loud rooms and cross-crowd smiles. It wasn't you, not really, but that best under the table and under my skirt slyness of anyone whose hand I've placed on my thigh. Keep reading. I'm about to get off. Just enough booze and Ativan, post-op days and out loud poetry to make fucking sound fun again. But really, I'd rather not go that far, so I can write another poem like this tomorrow. Pretty lady. Sitting at the gate, a man suggests brighter clothing with accessories, and a smile never hurt neither. A man wearing sandals and socks heartily agrees, I love to see a lady in a dress. They discuss length of hems and those gams. I say, show him what God gave you. A maintained forward stare, a closed lip smile, and a silent prayer for a distant seat on the plane ride home. Splitsville. I chose 3 yellows to describe the weight. You always hated ochre, so I stopped short at naming names. You packed filthy gauze into a weeping wound and said, this could be corn silk. A closed lip smile, a nod, and I knew you weren't listening. This is a closed invitation. This is not a practice run. This is your cue to leave, and that's the gag. You haven't missed a thing. Nothing is certain, and certainly not us. Not this, not you and me. I didn't need to know her name, the time it took, each of the last glimpses, what this would look like, cold comforts, metastatic cancers, her name, how you walked, ran, played together, the smell of it all, how he damn near fell off the ladder, her name, the fear to breathe, the fear to leave, the loops of her handwriting, where any of it came from, gravity this damn heavy, her fucking name. That's it.
Thank you. Fantastic. Fantastic. Way to set the tone and the tempo for the next group. So our next poet is Jamie Andersen.
Hi, can you hear me all right?
We can hear you just fine, Jamie.
Fantastic. Hi, I'm Jamie Andersen Fields. I'm a crip queer poet and marine scientist, and I'm going to read a couple poems. The first is called Pickles. We diluted vinegar and water, glass gallons crowding the counter, more and more as we scrubbed cigarette smoke from the walls, the ceiling when the color stopped matching, working around improvised tarps, fumbly hands and ladders, crown molding. Laura Marling begging in the background, familiar crooned reminder, change is survivable. The same words I played over and over, alone in another place I'd leave alone. But this time with you and a bed set up in a space we call my room, in a house that smells like lost childhood friends and an absent mother's cigarettes. We are scrubbing them away in tidy circles, letting our hands take turns as they get heavy and wrinkled, or maybe I should say pickled. It smells like hamburger dinners, little forks, microwave buns, Dijon mustard, cherry tomato slit in twos with mixed greens. It smells like the thick air that holds up planes, breathing heavy through double panes, making the door slam in the other room. I've never made a home for myself like this, so far from the place I am living. You tell me I am welcome, that this is the song I'm meant to sing, to prep a new bucket, to sit back for a minute, to eat. I'm sure I cried in the car on the way back, but I don't remember leaving, and I love that I grew to forget. The second poem I'm going to read is called Wrong the Wrong That Wronged Me Worse. We sublux knees and skulls and ribs, joints burned by Cassandra's blood. The fire pops and the doctor calls it crepitus, calls it exaggeration. The temporary prophet gets burned by dead fireworks and half-drunk vodka, while we pretend to know any scent other than burning hair. Whir of clippers, offerings surgeons tell us are unnecessary. They wrongly believe we burn for them. I do not stretch to reach for you. I stretch to return to myself. I stretch to wrong the wrong worse than it wronged me. To relax is to unfold, melt into dying in pieces, as if it is not enough they've taken from me. Push myself away to reclaim myself. Lie in the dark feeling so good to be unbelieved for a reason. Apollo is laughing, scalpel in hand as he drags his sister from my neck, cuts the sin of forgotten chastity from the disabled body. Lo, a prophet is made, spitting forth from their own dura. And this one will say goodbye and never love you again. And this one won't tell you goodbye and they will die in a kitchen alone. And this one will write poems with your tongue to burn while you starve in front of them. And every doctor who ever touches you will find one less thing wrong with you till there is nothing in the whole world you could be. And if I have a little time left, I have a couple of haikus, but yeah, cool. You know, to completely change moods, I have a few haikus I wrote from my window mid-quarantine. Tall grass arching west, as if sunlight lingers there, summer days tilted. Robin hops exiled from evergreen nest high above, fledgling feathers puffed. Dusk brings felted wings, insect swarms quick devoured, screech and click of bats. And that's all from me tonight. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you here. That was fantastic. Wrong the wrong that wronged me worse. I mean, this is exactly the barn dance of English that Robert Hass talks about, the beautiful, incredible barn dance of rising and falling syllables. Thank you. So our next reader tonight is Chat. Why do you roam away from me? I'm sorry. So our next reader tonight is Alana Lev.
Well, Alana's not here. We're up to Jada.
Jada.
Home team advantage.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Jada, just crush it.
Oh, okay. This first one is called Found Poem 1. Hanged from a tree, ruled a suicide. I keep feeling the victim's visibly shaken brother. We are just trying to grieve. His presence so near, who is black, had been lynched. So rich, so sweet and complete. It's just too much, the distraught brother said. Could it be a dream or is it reality? People drew comparisons between his death to the death of Robert Fuller. Sounds just like a symphony. Another black man who was found dead. It ministers to me. He was definitely loved by his family and his community, the distraught brother said. The day he opened my eyes and changed my heart before refusing to comment. A love song, beautiful song, a love song, sweet, simple song. 27 of Kingsbridge Terrace in the Bronx, died by hanging June 9th. The next one, can I read this one? It's the color purple. It's the color purple during quarantine one.
Yeah.
I can?
Yeah.
Okay. Watching the color purple during quarantine. To touch my sister's face under an unrelenting sunlight and a field of trauma turned to delight. I want to touch Southern soil to feel the home I've never known. Self-isolation ain't new. Self-isolation is grand. Crowded dance halls left me empty. Dark liquor kept me full. Tight sidewalks pushed me out. New York is choking me. Celia and Nettie cry in each other's hands, scratching anxiety off my neck. Isolation is a deep sleep. I'm floating. My future is an aimless, thick miles of land with no plans to fill the space set in stone. I hate when plans are canceled or when they're taken from me. This next one is, I don't have a title for it yet, but I'm just gonna read it. I listened to Us Be Lost, planning Uncle's funeral, planning forgiveness. Loose ends, half-finished sentences hang on the edge of my mouth. They linger on a tightrope of tears riding the brain. I know I'll miss flaring my eyes up to my head when he plants wet kisses on my forehead. I listen to my brain cower. Our time, our memories are a cocktail of love, lashes to skin, and biphobia. If I purse my lips tighter, it'll all make sense. I won't scream, I won't cry. I'll forgive my vitriol, curl it into smiles. My silence will open his eyes. He won't think I'm a sin. He'll call me his indigo child. My head will fall into his chest. I would finally cover him, as he didn't always cover me. I think that's it.
You, Jada. If you were a featured reader, he won't think I'm a sin would be in the subject line of the email that we sent out, including that poem. What a wonderful line. He won't think I'm a sin.
Thank you.
Next reader and the last reader of this group is Bob Carr.
Great, thank you. It's great to be here and to see a lot of really good friends. I'm coming to you from Maine. In the isolation that we're all experiencing in different ways, I've chosen a couple of poems that really look at the arc of our sexuality when we're cut off from so much. So here's the first poem. How to Eat Lobster. Softer than a college boy, my lobsterman is gentle as a callus, a desired scratch, sky-eyed with an upright I don't trust, sexy as sunlight on a harbor seal. Tight-bearded, blonde, he takes me to a pound. At our table on Cape Porpoise, steamers, bibs we don't wear, hot seawater. I confess, I've never ordered live ones. Mom bought me rolls. There's sweet meat in the legs, he says. Start there, break them off, bite down, inch it in your mouth. Now, slap off the tail. We peel back green tamale, dipped his bearded lip meat chewy. He calls it eating watermelon. The sailor savors my slice of pink on beach blankets, mimics the unhinged jaws of gulls flying with those high gray birds. I wonder if I give him tongue, will I taste his heart? I flip it up, find slick force in the boyish body of an older lover. Bent in a shared breath, we smell the salt of crashing. Now split the claw, use the cracker, open knuckles, shove fingers in the shell. We rinse, drop sea flesh in cloudy water. The nut pick slips and bloodies my thumb. He reaches across the table, takes my hand and drinks. Blood and butter, the taste of touch with a tongue. Love, a shattered urchin smashed on stone, that pile of shell, the hammer of his hips, skinned outside a seaman's cabin overhanging cliffs. Radical domesticity. You don't see clearly through the kaleidoscopic lens of your misspent diamond ring. You, who won't consider a braided flogger beside the slotted kitchen spoon and fear the weightlessness of swinging husbands. This is the smell. Blue fringed leather hanging from a ceiling of lasting marriage. This is the sex, curl of a whippet, dreaming under a rocking bed. The apple pie is not served without a knife. A bulb replaced with red, shadows of men no longer pale. Step into radical domesticity. There's a bonded hush in sighing, strength in screws penetrating rafters. I'll hold you up, keep you safe this side of edge. Swab beating sweat from your ecstatic breast, clean a cement floor beneath your quivering frame. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you to all the readers of this group. This was outstanding.
I think that's actually the last group, right? So
I think it is the last group. Wait, actually, let me.
We have some more. We have Olivia Hayes, Ron Bremer.
Ron left. Olivia, I don't think is here. Olivia, are you here?
We have Olivia Hayes.
I am.
You are. Oh, okay. Then I am so sorry.
It's okay.
You're actually the last person in this group, so let's get Olivia Hayes on.
You have video, Olivia.
I'm on my phone right now, so I'm actually holding it up to my face so you get a nice view of my forehead. If I did, is that something?
I think you're fine.
You're fine.
Okay. Okay, so my first poem actually, shout out to Dr. Yeager. Not doctor?
Not a doctor.
Not yet.
Just a professor.
Not yet.
Almost. I'm
Professor.
like Docto.
Sorry, my bad. It's called An Ode to Yellow. You are broad shoulders and a wide smile, and I can't not look at you. What's your deal? What's mine? The societally accepted color of the sun, but the sun has no color, as it is made of gas and heat and the fury of God. You're the color of my water bottle and my notebook and my favorite hat. And I look for you on cars and walls and in people's eyes. But those things don't talk back. And I'm sure I've heard you speak, and I've definitely heard you scream. You scream in warning and you excite the brain neurochemically, which is a big word, and it means something big, but not as big as your existence. You're hard to understand, and I've always wanted to be hard to understand. Everyone puts on their own pants, but Mine are yellow, but I am not you, but you are in me and on me like past lovers. But you're not a lover, you're a show off. I am not, but with you I am. And you're real, but who's to say I am? I've always wanted to be yellow. And then this next one is to everything that cuts fruit. I am from the suburbs, from the small, ugly dogs and their smaller, uglier mothers. The next door neighbors brought us shampoo and toothpaste in wheelbarrows. How I would move the bugs around in the backyard with their kids and pretend to kill monsters with arrows made of wood, and everything was good. I am from holding the knife, excited to be old enough to cut the fruits, the freedom of the woods and the yard outside. There, of course, I could play rough and hold the knife without holding the fruit. How I would touch the leaves with my palms and let them decide if I was made of poison. My palm numbed by the splinters from the fence that held us in its boundless hand, and everything made sense. I am from the switch of the fireplace fixture, no task too small for a simple luxury. How the wires connected to make fire, and I felt like it understood what was in my head, what I've been led to believe about fires and knives and machetes, and hoping that I was dead. From the chewing and spitting out chicken bones, chasing them with a glass of wine, and everything was fine. I am from the screaming of my belly, walking into the kitchen, into the dining room where we never ate, and how no one taught me how to fish, though I had spent my life learning to sit and wait. Still, it wasn't the fire or the woods, or even that fence's godly, silent guarantee that made me. It was the moving around in the dark, quietly taking my fist and throwing it against the tree bark. How I knew if I stayed there, no one would ever find me or the machete. It was how all of the street lamps outside felt in comparison to my nightlight, less radiant and misunderstood. It was all of those things, and how, even if it never was, everything was good.
Thank you, Olivia. Thank you, Olivia, for bringing us home. As just, your name in white on a grayish background. Thank you to all the readers tonight. I'm trying to remember almost that last line from Olivia's poem. How the wires connected to make fires, but there was a line at the end. So we're going to vote now on our last group. And goodness gracious, I mean, the winner of this is going to beat some fantastic fucking poets tonight, because the work has just been outstanding.
This has been such a pleasure.
God, has it been?
We're at 71%.
Jason, you are a tech god. I think we did a pretty nice job, last week.
Yeah, what's the turnaround on this, Jason?
The turnaround on who got the highest score?
Yeah.
I think I think we can know as soon as this poll closes.
Is the computer counting on its fingers?
Yeah. Well, so what we do is right. I can see how many ones, how many twos, how many threes, how many fours, how many fives, and so I multiply the number of ones by 1, the number of twos by 2, the numbers of threes by 3, the numbers of fours by 4, the numbers of fives by 5. And then we add up all of those numbers, and then we divide them by the number of votes. So, so as I said, like if you received 6 5s, but only 6 people voted for you, then you'd have a 5 and you would win. But people are quite fair, and people, you know, are really, you know, scoring with the full range. We're not clustering anywhere. But I set up the cells so that once I enter the numbers in, the calculations are already happening kind of instantaneously in Excel.
That's one thing I found that I've loved about this is there's a kind of gamesmanship thing that happens where people really listen seriously and kind of rate seriously because I think they want to be taken that seriously too. And there's a sort of, you know what I mean? Like there's a nice quality to that, and then it's over. And it used to be you would look around the room and everyone in the room is someone you had heard from. Now it's you go through the pages of Zoom and look at the faces of the people that you heard from, but quite nice.
We're at 92%, so I'm going to end the poll.
If this is going to continue on Zoom, the open mic thing, y'all will need to find some like really fun intermission style music or like, you know, entertainment as the counting is happening.
Yeah, like
you don't think this
like a halftime
slow
show
motion fish is and John's red background are enough, Melinda?
You know what? That's already a lot. I apologize. You're right.
Effort.
It perhaps is already too much. No, I hear you. I hear you.
That fish kind of just makes me want to sing that stupid McDonald's jangle, though.
Does that fish talk?
Yeah, that give me back that fillet of fish.
What this fish
Behind Jaeger.
Yeah, no, my grandpa caught it, and we didn't eat that one for some reason.
What year did you catch that fish?
In the early 1970s, he caught that.
That thing is crazy.
And
So it doesn't talk.
It doesn't talk, and it produced a story even after its death. About 20 years ago, when I was home from college, and you know, for a weekend, and I was down here, and my mom was cooking, and I stuck my finger into its mouth, and that sort of fish, its teeth are angled inward.
Oh man!
So I got my finger stuck in there, and I was like a 20-year-old human, and my mom was like, you know, dinner, and my finger was in its mouth. And it was and so I was in trouble, and so I had to kind of go, and I got some needle nose pliers or something, and I just broke out the kind of teeth around my finger and sort of pushed them out. So that thing, it kind of looks like a hockey coach from like 1940 if you punch in on its mouth. And but that's just that. The poetry tonight was outstanding, and I will email Lori and and say that I promise that the winner of this contest would get a pub in the new relaunched KGB Lit Mag.
And I'm ready to announce it. I'm ready to call it. And the person who got the highest score by a clear margin, as far as I know, is the person who has attended the most number of KGB open mics in our history of open mics, and it's Melinda Wilson.
Melinda Wilson.
Oh shit!
Not
No way.
Surprising.
Yeah.
Not surprising.
Well done, Melinda.
Least surprising winner ever.
Hey, there's the halftime show.
It's because I've been trying long enough. Right? Keep knocking on y'all's door every season.
Yeah, I think
literally, you know, that is good shit. Good shit. Everybody knows that Melinda deserves that. And I bet she just fived the whole freaking board, didn't she, Jason?
What was the?
She just dropped fives across the whole everything.
I won't reveal what the votes were, but
probably, you know, and there
was the spread was clear.
But there were some outstanding poems and outstanding lines. I wrote down a bunch of lines, and and if I had a personal assistant, his job would definitely be to turn them into a cento tomorrow.
I would say, Matt, read a couple of your highlights. I've got the window is a window made of hands.
I have that as well. Whereas I am a
Don't even think
I think I am a tree made of hands.
That's your halftime show.
Yeah.
Poetry bingo.
Oh, we should do that. We should have the cento ready for the next open mic so that in the
should.
fall.
We should. And
we
it
bring
begins
together-
with there was a KGB reference in one poem. I imagined it going down at the KGB bar, you know, and this about a line later there were some cross crowd smiles that were in that poem that I put out. And then Jason, before we even began, you said back when I was slamming Jason, and it was just awesome. And I just thought if anybody could get a poem up on the balls of its feet and move it forward with that first line, it is you. Back when I was slamming Jason. I read that poem. Serenity Prayer 2.0, feeling dizzy, feeling dirty. Wrap the drum in feathers, be as subjective as possible. We exceeded the capacities of our bras. Milk, my happy place. When something freshly torn out twitches.
I remember that one. That was good.
I know how to survive your vinegar. All that remains is to run the faucet at midnight. Silver strokes go around like spokes. After the rich buy all the mountains and nothing wild remains. Horny and irate. Girls with long acrylic nails pull themselves up and underwhelm in the middle of my face. Wrong the wrong that wronged me worse. And every doctor who touches you will find one less thing wrong with you. One less summer day exiled. Sentences that begin with verbs. Don't bother to restate subjects. Gesture. That wasn't a quote. Whoops. That was Jada. That was just a nice thing that she was doing.
What did I say?
You didn't say anything. I just wrote down while you're reading sentences that begin with verbs. Don't bother to restate the subject. Gesture.
Is that a good thing?
Yeah, that's a good thing.
It's an acting
Dark
truth
liquor
of
kept me
English.
full.
What?
That's another line. Planning forgiveness. He won't think I'm a sin. Gentle as a callus. Sexy as sunlight on a harbor seal. Fuck yes. That is such a good line. Blood and butter, the taste of touch. I am from old enough to hold a knife and cut fruit. How the wires reconnected to make fires. Horny and irate. I read that one already, but it just jumped out at me again.
All right. So,
those are just some of the wonderful lines that were written tonight.
You make this happen. It's really good to have you here. You make this happen. And the links that you have, the link that you used to get here tonight will get you in to every KGB Monday night for the rest of the season. And you want to be back next Monday because we're going to be here with Doug Manuel and Felicia Zamora.
And we can hang out now.
Yeah. I think this is the point where Jason says, "Now I'm going to stop the recording." And